This famous crime writer stole his agent's wife? Today we're talking all about Anthony Berkeley Cox, famous mystery writer and Detection Club founder, as part of my series on this famous crime writers club that inspired my debut novel. And if you want to see all the next episodes as soon as they're released, make sure to hit follow. Anthony Berkeley Cox was born on July 5th, 1893 in Watford. He was the oldest of 3 children and studied classics at Oxford University. However, his entire life he struggled with feeling like his 2 siblings were more successful than him. After serving overseas in World War I, he began a career as a journalist and eventually published his very first crime novel, The Leighton Court Mystery, in 1925. Anthony Berkeley Cox achieved success publishing both under his own name and also several pseudonyms, and his 1932 novel, Before the Fact, was the inspiration for the Alfred Hitchcock film Suspicion, starring Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine. However, Barkley actually hated this film adaptation of his book because it changed the ending, and he clearly did not like Hitchcock, stating, quote, "Authors don't exist for Mr. Hitchcock except as some low form of insect life to spin plots and characters like silkworms for him to muck about." End quote. Barkley could be very witty and charming with an air of mystery, but he also struggled with inner demons and confounded his contemporaries with the contradictions in his personality. Dorothy L. Sayers detested his teasing and temper tantrums, but Agatha Christie greatly admired Barkley, and John Dixon Carr once described him as, quote, "the cleverest of us all." The Detection Club grew out of dinners that Barkley would host, but despite the fact that the club grew out of Barkley's social gatherings, he had a reputation for being rather curmudgeonly even from a young age. And he once remarked to fellow Detection Club member Christiana Brand that there was, quote, "not one soul in the world he did not cordially dislike." Barkley's personal life was also filled with drama and turmoil. He was a bit of a womanizer and developed attractions to multiple married women. He married his first wife, Margaret, shortly before he was sent to fight in World War I. And he left his first wife, Margaret, to be with a woman named Helen Peters, who had previously been married to A.B. Peters, Barkley's own literary agent. Apparently, though, A.B. Peters didn't care that much because he also had a side chick, so he was glad that Helen had found somebody. This is what I love about history, guys. We get to know all the tea without having to be involved in any of the drama. Barkley died on March 9th, 1971. And he instructed his trustees to confirm that he was really dead because he had a lifelong fear of being buried alive. And if you want to learn more about his interesting life, definitely read The Golden Age of Murder, Martin Edwards' History of the Detection Club, which talks about Barkley a lot. It's a very interesting read.